Hi, thanks for getting my Killer Brief booklet. I wanted to give you a little more context that I hope you will find helpful around briefs. I believe that they are magical. I think they are the closest thing to a silver bullet I've found, regardless of what my clients' problems are. 80% of my clients' problems have been solved by doing it well, and I'll tell you who some of those clients are in a minute. I know agencies that their thinking in the brief as an output can account for 40% of their revenues. So not giving it away with creative. One client I worked with made more money in the year following our work together than in the previous 10 combined. Killer Briefs was a piece of that. And a large global agency I worked for, they weren't quite sure about the value. They weren't quite sure that they would take the time to write a brief at the front end. And at the end of my tenure there, they said, oh yeah, okay, we get it. We never seem to have enough time to do it right, but we always seem to find time to do it over. I have been at this for a very long time. I have a powerful track record of growth. I've worked with dozens of agencies, run successful departments for some good names in the industry. I have a full Killer Briefs book on Amazon, and I do workshops around that for companies like Adidas and E&J Gallo, as well as dozens of agencies. You know, I work on beer banks and baby food. I think the brief template that I have, the one page, is helpful regardless of the size or type of agency. It's really around thinking, a common set of expectations, a common tool, and common language. So, top 11 pitfalls of Killer Briefs. If I go into a company and they're saying we have problems, most of the time they're not writing briefs at all. Or they're trying to write them collectively in a meeting. So it ends up being one big compromise. Another pitfall is just cutting and pasting, grabbing bits of information and making it a vomitorium of data. Another problem is focusing on being informational, but not focusing on being inspirational. I think inspiration is perhaps even more important than the information. One of the other pitfalls is not focusing on the why this particular piece is needed. Why do we need a website? Why do we need digital ads? What do we want to have happen? And how will we know when we get there? So if we haven't answered those questions, how can you go into creative development? Not having a point of view on how to solve the problem or take advantage of the opportunity in front of you. I see briefs with loads of historical context and what the client wants, but there's no point of view on this is where we should start. Another problem is not focusing on the what's in it for them. We want to tell people all about us as a brand, but it really is flipping the script and saying what's in it for them and speaking to benefits. Another problem with the briefs I've seen is no cohesion. There's some interesting bits, but none of it really hangs together. I've seen them when they're too jargony. Did some work for Nike, and they had this acronym for the audience. And I said, what does that mean? They said, yeah, everybody just uses it. So we know what it means. And all 10 of them were in this room. And I said, tell me what it means. And they really couldn't unpack it for me in a way that made the audience human. Another is writing it for the client and not for the creative team. I believe the creative team is the audience for the brief. And then not briefing the team. If you just kind of send it in an email, that's only half the job, even if it's great. It's really send it to the team ahead of time so that they can digest it. Frightening, I know. Spending the time in the briefing, giving context, telling stories, answering questions, because the creative team then's had time to digest it and come with questions. And that's the important time that you spend together talking. I just did a podcast around this issue, and I can send you that link. Or I can do another video on how to overcome these briefs, or we can chat for 15 minutes. But in any event, I hope it's helpful, and thanks for reaching out, and I'd love to chat sometime.